Hey everyone, Izzy and MJ from Endless RVing. We have an important video for you today. Knowing what RV dealership you are dealing with. We've talked about this many times, but it comes even to more light when we read you this story. Before we get to that, couple of things. Please take a moment, make sure you're subscribed, notification bells on. A lot of our subscribers have been unknowingly unsubscribed, and we release videos quite often, and you don't want to miss them. Secondly, the hat that I'm wearing, many of you guys have been asking, where did you get this hat from? But we had it custom made. However, the company that makes our shirts, which you haven't seen, the RVing USA shirts, along with other shirts that we have, they agreed. They said they could make this hat exactly the same way. So we want your feedback, because we're not going to have them printed and made if nobody wants them. We want your feedback. Would you purchase a hat like this or a hat with embroidered, not like ironed on, embroidered RV in the USA? Either one or both, let us know in the comments below. Your comments will directly affect whether we put them on our merch store or not.
As we always do with our news stories, this is a PSA. So this is to help you hopefully learn and maybe think twice before doing certain things that could get you into trouble. A lot of times when you do these videos, people say, oh, you're so negative. This has nothing to do with negativity. We're not putting our opinion or anything, but what we are doing is hopefully helping you realize that these things do happen and just to think twice. This comes from RVtravel.com. It's dated September 2nd, 2024. RV dealer gets 20 years in prison for ripping off customers. In a nutshell, you have an RV dealership that is located in McMinnville, Oregon, and the owner was Reuben Burnt, and Mr. Burnt is in a lot of trouble.
The name of the dealership was Mac RV Sales Dealership, like you said, in Oregon. The case, conviction, and ultimately sentencing in 2020-2021, he offered to consign at least 29 RVs at his Highway 18 dealership. In most of those cases, the victims say they signed the consignment contract, left their rig there, and then later find out the rig had been sold, but they never received any money for it.
This was not his first rodeo, so the Oregon DMV sanctioned him for not paying a consignor for a sold rig within 10 days. So they suspended his sales license for 3 years in March of 2021. But what happened in this courtroom, it surprised a lot of people, but this judge was just not having it.
20 years is a lot of time for property, not even property, kind of for theft.
Right. So a lot of the victims spoke in the trial. They heard from about a dozen victims, and many of them were elderly, older people. And the point of the judge that she was making was that, because the defense attorney said, well, he didn't murder anybody, he didn't do this. Even murderers don't get that much sometimes,
burglars,
right?
Don't.
Yes, many other things. But what she was saying was the amount of people that were affected. This person affected every one of these people's lives, their families, their futures, and kept doing it over and over, especially after losing the sales license for the 3 years that he did.
In response to Mr. Burnt's attorney, this is a direct quote from Judge Chapman, what we have here is a situation where you, Burnt, made no fewer than 29 decisions, all with pretty significant impacts. Choices have consequences, and sometimes those choices have tragic consequences. The choices you made, Mr. Burnt, impacted not just your life, but your family's life, and it impacted the lives of at least 60 to 75 people in our communities. Again, I 100% agree. You should be responsible for the choices you make if it was kind of laid out in equal playing field. But it is what it is, and I don't really feel sympathy for him. He got what he deserved. One
of the couples that was taken said that their trust in humanity had been shaken. You can understand that. So speaking for himself and his wife, Joanne, Marvin Penrose, who was one of the people that was affected by this, said, quote, we've always been trusting and happy people, but that changed. Now we are on the edge regarding anyone. We're still very stressed and overwhelmed from the deceit and theft. It is hard to find motivation in daily tasks and everyday joys we like to do. So they had to juggle their retirement finances. They were late on payments because of this whole mess. And then they found their credit was failing because of what happened.
Part of the harsh sentence, Oregon voters passed Measure 57. That measure imposed mandatory minimum sentences for repeat property convictions, along with harsher sentences for thefts over $10,000 where the victim is 65 years or older.
So before the sentence was given, the judge did allow Reuben Burnt, the owner of this facility, to speak. And he was crying and he said, I'm sorry I put you guys through what you went through, your hardship, your losses. I'm sorry to my family and your guys' hardship. This was a very dark period of my life and I just want it behind me. I want to be back with my family. I want to be working to pay the restitution and I can't do that from jail. He said it was a very dark period of my life. I mean, it went on for, and he didn't learn after after he lost his sales license for 3 years.
The judge also did order restitution in the amount of $700,000. Realistically, that's probably never going, almost certain that's never going to be paid, because unless this conviction is overturned, Mr. Burnt, he's going to have to serve 20 years, and most of the victims are probably not going to be around. He's going to be much older, and then just to even pay that is going to be unrealistic.
Should go to their families, honestly. So what can we learn from this? As whenever we do these videos, we always try to say, okay, what lesson can come from this? Due diligence. If a lot of times we've done videos where unfortunately many times elderly people get taken by scams and things like that, and I'm not saying that this, people deserve this by any means, but for anybody, you want to make sure that you're doing your due diligence. If you're going to do something like this, research that dealership. So we looked at the reviews for this sales facility and they only had I think 5 reviews, but it was like a 1.2. I mean, that's really hard to get. You have to try very hard to get really less than a 3 or something. Choosing the correct dealership, a safe dealership to do this, if it has a good name, right? It has good reviews. These are things that you're looking at, right?
Recommendations from
other people that have done that.
Especially when you're dealing with, large sales, large purchases. You're talking, 50, 100, 150,000 more. Could be more. You want to make sure you're going to a reputable place. Again, this place, they had their license suspended by DMV. I'm sure that could have been easily found out with just a little bit of research.
Something else too, social media, as a pain as it can be, and negative things about social media, it can be very useful when you are looking for a service or looking for recommendations. Go on Facebook, ask people, go into groups. I'm sure there's RV consignment groups that you can find information and recommendations from others that have done that.
And this is not the only instance of something like this happening. We did a video a couple of months ago. Wasn't exactly the same, but people getting scammed, sending out deposits for just these phantom posts for RVs for sale that weren't for sale. It was just a scam. So you have to be aware if something seems too good to be true, it probably is. You always have to do your research. You always have to be thinking, and just to protect yourself, because nobody else is, right? Even though this individual is getting 20 years, these victims, they're out of their money. They're never going to get it back. Realistically, they're never going to get it back. So nobody's really going to protect them. You have to kind of be responsible for your own self. In the comments below, let us know, have you heard of this story? First time we read about it. So we just kind of we learn from these articles just as much as you do. If you like videos like this, guys, to the left of us, we'll put our RV news playlist. We'll put our RV newbies playlist. And for myself and MJ, it's a journey of a lifetime. And we'll see you on the road.